Don't be fooled by
Blog
deceptive
Talk
ads,
Radio.
chain pharmacies promising low copays and simplified testing. But one thing you must remember, there's no company, no matter how large, that can beat the low cost you'll find at Pro Medical East Medical Supply. The home delivery option alone will save you up to $200. Pro Medical East Medical Supply accepts most national and regional insurance plans in Florida, and including, of course, Medicare and Medicaid. And if you're not insured, they'll get your medical supplies at the absolute lowest cost. Make sure you ask about the no-cost option. Call 1-888-200-2797. That's 1-888-200-2797. Tell them Steve sent you.
As Internet technology advances, so does the threat of cybercrime. In times like these, we must protect ourselves from cybercrime. Antivirus software, firewalls, and security patches are just the beginning. Never open suspicious emails and only navigate to trusted sites. Protect your child by installing parental control software and monitoring their computer use. To learn more about cybercrime, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Regular listeners to Peter Bruno's long-running daily radio show, Managing Your Money, know about his original form of research analysis called psychoanalysis. This unique system, designed to watch and analyze stock market movement behavior in advance, has guided listeners and clients safely from the market high in the 14,000 area 2 years ago, all the way down to the previous lows below the Dow 6500, just as he protected his clients from the crash of 1987 and again in 2008. If you're not getting the same quality advice from your financial advisor, it's time you called Peter Bruno. Toll free anytime. Consider opening your personalized managed account or find out about the next free 90-minute seminar. The number is 1-800-592-5578. 592-5578. Call Peter Bruno anytime, 24/7. 1-800-592-5578. Benefit from the research that has forecast in advance 2 crashes. Peter Bruno. Call today. 1-800-592-5578.
AM 1470 WNN is now the Health and Wealth Network, featuring more of the information you're looking for. Join us for the best health programs every day. Then, in late afternoons and evenings, tune in for more information for your financial success. Only on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's all-new Health and Wealth Network. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, so they're not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. This is the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Join us every day on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. You can also find us on our Twitter podcast, Facebook, and blogtalkradio.com. Now, today's program.
Hey, welcome back, Holistic Lifestyles Radio. This is Trip Bechert. I'm standing in for John Hollis today. I'm your resident attorney guest host. I've been on the air with you all several times, and usually we talk about divorce in a very kind and gentler way, fair divorce or mediated divorces. But today I'd like to talk about some subjects when the parties in a divorce cannot agree and how it impacts the children and what you have available to you to help you resolve these disputes. I know divorce isn't always the most fun topic to hear folks talk about, but unfortunately, based upon the statistics, there are a number of you out there that may need to know what is available to you as it relates to your child rearing and custody and visitation issues. I have a case in my office right now where I represent the dad, and this could apply to a dad or a mom situation, but I happen to represent the dad, and the former wife is embarking on a campaign of complete alienation from the children, and it's a really sad thing when you think that these two folks had some wonderful kids, and the kids are these innocent bystanders, and one or both of the parents engage in an activity that will make them basically pawns in their own scheme for whatever motive. But it happens, and it happens unfortunately all too often. And the fallout is it hurts the kids. When we go to court, fortunately, more often than not, the courts really don't care about the parents. What they care about is they care about what's going on with the kids. They make sure that the kids are safe, going to be educated, going to go to good schools, going to have good health insurance, good health care. But oftentimes, when I sit down in front of the court and I have a client, they don't really care about the money. They don't really care about the house that's in foreclosure. They don't really care about anything other than, are you going to be able to take care of your children, and how are you going to do it? Well, oftentimes what happens is, and what I'm going to be talking about primarily this hour, is what happens after a divorce. A lot of folks, are thinking about a divorce, but unfortunately, I'm going to talk to you today about what happens after you get a divorce when you have kids. In the state of Florida today, we have what we call time sharing. We've gotten rid of all the old labels of custody, and I have primary and this and that, and we work out what we call a time sharing arrangement between the parties. And more often than not, we are dealing with two folks that are supposed to be what they call co-parenting the children, and are going to share in all of the major parental responsibilities of rearing a child. That includes the time that you spend with them, making all the major decisions as to where the children are going to go to school, how they're going to be raised from a religious point of view, what doctors are going to go to, and the like. And if everything goes to plan, when you get divorced, you're able to simply follow the parenting plan that you put together, either by choice if you mediate and agree to it, or not by choice, but what the court will write out for you. And you're obligated to follow those particular guidelines. And what happens, unfortunately, all too often is one of the parties decides that they don't like the arrangement, and they're no longer going to honor it. And they try to come up with different and creative ways to get out of honoring the agreement. Well, in this particular case, the dad's supposed to have X amount of visitation per week, and mom is supposed to have the children primarily living with her. It's a guy, and he's got two young daughters, adolescents. They're not in their teens yet, but they're not infants either. As in the economy, he loses his job, becomes unemployed, falls behind on his child support. Well, mom, in retaliation, decides to suspend his visitation, and she does so by alleging that dad and his now girlfriend are having domestic disputes in front of the children and are creating a problem in front of the children. Well, again, these are just allegations, but the problem is that I'm sure some of the listening audience can relate that, people can say anything, and it's a shame because people can just make up whatever they want. The media does it every day. And until you prove yourself not to be the character of which you've been painted, unfortunately you have to live with that stigma. Well, this is a classic case of alienation. My client has two young, beautiful daughters, and his former spouse is claiming that he shouldn't be able to see his children, and every time the court orders it, she just simply ignores it. But there's remedies available to you, and at my firm, we we specialize in helping folks that are experiencing either initial divorce issues or what we call post-judgment issues. And those are child support, enforcement issues, visitation issues, change in visitation issues, change in child support obligations. Well, in my client's particular situation, based on the fact that he became unemployed, as I'm sure a lot of you have over the years, or have had a reduction in your pay or had to take a different job and pays less, there are remedies available to you, and we are able to seek a modification on your behalf. We're able to help you navigate through the various hurdles that you will need to overcome in order to obtain a modification for your child support obligations. And conversely, if you are in a situation where you are receiving child support, say as a mom and or dad, and the other party who's supposed to be paying child support gets a better job or gets a substantial increase in their child support or in their income, you're able to seek a modification upward of your child support guidelines. In the state of Florida, it works both ways. If you lose your job and you're unable to pay, the court steps in and helps you out. And if you're making more, of course, your children are entitled to get the benefit of that reward. It doesn't discriminate from moms to dads, because I have clients whose mom is the breadwinner, and mom has to pay the child support. Mom has to pay alimony, believe it or not. And I have clients that are dads, and it's the same holds true. So it's important that you don't allow yourself to fall into a rut and believe that you have no options available to you if you lose your job and you're falling behind on your obligations. The key is to get something before the court sooner rather than later. If you sit on your hands and you do nothing, you're going to have a problem. But if you lose your job and there's a problem, before you get too far behind, you have to seek a modification. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's important that you go either by yourself or you get a lawyer or you come to my office and we help you navigate through this, because all of the time that it's going to take to get this before the judge, your arrearage is growing. The court is without jurisdiction to do anything until you file your petition for modification. It's not something that can be retroactive until you file your petition for modification. So from the date that you file your petition to seek relief from the court and to lower your child support obligation, the court will be able to do that. Any of the time that passes between when you stop paying and the date that you file that petition, the court can't do anything. They're without the authority to lower the child support in that interim period. So you lose your job tomorrow, you wait a year to go before the judge because you have some savings or you had some other money or you had an inheritance or something, and then you run out of that. Well, you're not going to get the benefit of what is available to you unless you act. Oftentimes, as is with most cases, we're able to mediate a dispute like this and a departure for a modification. But you're not going to get anything unless you ask. So this is one of the first prongs that I want you to strongly consider in coming in, and it's important that you seek the advice of somebody who knows how to do this. My office gives free consultations. It's 954-941-8363. It's Bechert Associates. You can find us on the web at southfloridaattorney.com, southfloridaattorney.com. Again, my name is Trip Bechert, and this is what I do for a living, and we'll be right back after the break, okay?
concert. Rockers in Recovery Memorial Day Weekend Concert, May 28th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m., featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist of the NYC Hit Squad and formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, along with Jason Sultan, bassist of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Mick Jagger and Celine Dion, along with 3 other great bands, Johnny B and the Road Dogs, Keep Coming Back Band, and Rhetoric. Come out and join us at the First Step Sober House Memorial Day Free Concert at 450 Southwest 2nd Street, Pompano Beach. To find out more, go to rockersinrecovery.com or call 877-799-8773.
My name is Charles Bechert. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident due to the negligence of another, care enough to hire Bechert Associates to protect your rights. We are an AV-rated law firm and have 45 years of combined experience. We are all former prosecutors and have all worked for the insurance companies, so we know what they're up to. They have their attorneys, and so should you. When involved in an accident, remember, you may be entitled to $10,000 in medical or lost wages under your PIP policy. In addition, you may receive payments for your pain, suffering, or for the suffering of a loved one. Contact us at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at southfloridaattorney.com.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Silence calms the mind and rejuvenates the body. Godpillow has been inspiring daily devotions for over 11 years. Godpillows are custom made with love and intention. We encourage you to become part of our community. Come visit Godpillow on the World Wide Web at godpillow.com. Attention, the 4th annual 12-Step Music Fest is coming November 3rd through the 6th in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. 4 days of music and fun with 12 musical acts along with the Rockers in Recovery Supergroup featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Liberty DeVito, formerly of Billy Joel, Woody Geisman of the Del Fuegos, Jason Sultan of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Christine Ullman of the Saturday Night Live Band, and 4 more to be announced by September. Find out more about this sober Woodstock in Sugarloaf Key by joining rockersinrecovery.com or by calling 877-799-8773.
You are listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. Now back to today's show.
Hey, welcome back. Trip Bechert here again. I just want to follow up on those spots that we were running at the break. I think it's really important that you all go out and support Rockers in Recovery. I'm one of the sponsors there. You're going to have a great lineup of musicians. John's put together an excellent review of folks that are going to come out and entertain you for that event. And it's really important that you go out and show him your support. He's really been working hard at this, and I think it's going to be a great time for everybody. And he's really put his heart and soul into lining up the acts and to making sure that you all are going to have a great time. Again, my name is Trip Bechert, and I'm an attorney here in South Florida. I've been practicing here for over 17 years. And we were talking before the break that, there are remedies available to you for your child support obligations. That's called a post-judgment remedy, and it's a petition for modification of your child support obligation. A lot of dads will come in and say, I got a new job, and mom just hit me with these papers, or moms will come in and say, my ex just lost his job and I got hit with this paper, and he wants to stop paying me child support. Well, before you're able to actually do that, you have to actually disclose your pay. You have to disclose that hardship. You have to disclose your finances in order to qualify, and that requires what they call a discovery process. And that's what takes so long between the time you file your petition and the time you actually get before the judge for him to make a ruling on whether or not you're entitled to that reduction. And that's why it's so important, as I said, that you get that petition filed before rather than later. One of the things that happens in these situations is a lot of times when somebody falls behind in their child support obligations, the other spouse will simply say, well, you're not going to see the kids until I get my money. I want your child support check, or you're not going to see your son or daughter. And it's simply against the law to do that. Nonetheless, people do it every day. They withhold visitation for failure to the other spouse to pay child support. And you can't do that in the state of Florida. If the person hasn't paid a dime in 20 years, you still cannot refuse to allow him or her to visit with the child. It's not proper, it's not in the best interest of the child, and it's not doing anybody any good. And it will actually backfire on the person withholding visitation if they do so. So if you're one of those parents out there that have had the unfortunate loss of a job or change in your pay, and your former spouse is refusing to allow you to have visitation with your children, it's important you give us a call at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at Bechert Associates or SouthFloridaAttorney.com. We take these matters seriously, and we help you reestablish that visitation with your children and reunite you with them as soon as possible. And unfortunately, this is just a game of manipulation, and we're mindful of the fact that people need to eat and people need money to survive, but withholding visitation because somebody lost their job is inappropriate. Now, if the person even had the ability to pay, and you're a spouse and this has happened, my husband, I know he's making money, and I know he's got a good job, and you're going to be able to prove it, and oftentimes I am, but he's simply not paying me my child support, is still not a legal basis to withhold your child from visitation. You cannot do it. It's against the law. You will get in more trouble, actually, than the person who's not paying child support. If you don't pay your child support, or if your husband or your wife is not paying you your child support check, you need to, again, come visit me, and we'll help you prepare a petition to hold the non-paying party in contempt for failure to pay that child support obligation. Again, most often when we get these things filed, eventually we get to mediation and we can resolve them amicably. I mean, a lot of times it's just a matter of picking up the phone and talking to the person who's not paying, or talking to their attorney and trying to work it out because of one situation or another. But a lot of times the parties aren't talking, so when the lines of communication are dead and you're not getting paid, or you've lost a job or whatnot, it becomes difficult for you to work out an arrangement. And a lot of times there's so much bad blood between the parties, it's impossible to work those things out. So sometimes you need to have an intermediary do that. I've told you all before that in addition to being a litigator here in South Florida, I'm also a Supreme Court certified family law mediator. And oftentimes I will ask the party to bring in their spouse, and we will sit down and we will try to mediate it. It will cost you far less to sit down and try to agree to something, if possible, than it is for you to sit there and argue over it. But today we're talking about when you can't agree, and when one of the other parties is just being completely unreasonable. As I was talking about this client I have, the mom has embarked on this campaign of alienation. And we talk about alienation, it's simply turning the children completely against the other party. It's mom or dad filling the children's heads with things that are simply not true. And it's so easy to manipulate children, but it's so wrong. And unfortunately, we have parents that do that all the time. I mean, there's good manipulation. You got to eat your peas and your corn because you're going to grow up to be big and strong and be a football player. Well, that's good manipulation. But Daddy's a bad guy and he treats Mommy terribly, and it would really hurt Mommy if you didn't take my side and tell Daddy that you don't want to be around him anymore. I mean, that's something that will go on and over and over and over again, and before you know it, the children start to believe that Daddy has done something wrong or done something to Mommy, or Mommy has done something to Daddy. I don't mean to beat up on the dads today. It's easier to use it as an example. And the children start believing this stuff. The children, because they're children. I mean, and it's horrible that people engage in this type of practice when these are the most precious things you have in your life, your children, and for you to do this because of your own wants and desires is despicable. And oftentimes, unfortunately, as in this case, the courts really don't want to hear from Mom and Dad. They want to hear from the professional. So now you have to engage the services of a counselor. Well, some people are fortunate in that they have insurance, and insurance covers some of the counseling, and sometimes they don't, and it has to be out of pocket. Sometimes there's counseling available through public assistance. Sometimes there's not. And unfortunately, when parties come to me and they simply do not have the resources to engage counselors, it becomes very difficult to prove their case. Because what happens is the court in most circumstances will appoint a guardian ad litem to speak on behalf of the children. Because the children aren't going to come in like in TV and testify. Mom and Dad are not allowed to involve the children in litigation at all. So we appoint a guardian, and the guardian talks to the children, speaks with them, spends time with them, is supposed to spend time with the child and the parent, and then the other child and the parent. And to talk to the counselors and to try to get a big picture and then make a recommendation to the court. But if you don't have money to pay the guardian and to pay the counselor, it's a very, very, very difficult situation, and it becomes a he said, she said. And oftentimes you have one party that has more finances available to engage these type of people than the other. So you're stuck without an expert. You're stuck without an opinion. And it becomes very troubling. And it's one of those things that you need to have, the ability to navigate through this maze. And oftentimes you're going to need to have the aid of a professional to help you. So it's not an easy situation. I want people to realize that there is help out there, and that this type of activity shouldn't take place because. First of all, it's damaging your most precious resource, which is your children. But it's also it's just not proper. So at our firm, we make sure that if parties are engaging in this type of behavior, we help our clients combat that, and we help them get around that, and we help show the court that the other party is just acting out in an improper way and not doing what's in the best interest of the children. Like I said, I've been doing this for 17 years. I've been practicing as a support enforcement attorney. When I first started, I was a prosecutor in Broward. Then I went to work for the insurance companies, and then I've been in private practice ever since. So I've been doing this a long time, and I have the ability to litigate the most basic case, from a simple uncontested divorce to multi-million-dollar cases involving millions of dollars worth of assets. I've tried them all. I've taken on all types of cases, and whether you have money or not, I don't charge for a consultation. Folks are able to come to my office and sit down with me one-on-one and talk about what it is that they have a problem with. And they're able to do so by contacting my secretary at 954-941-8363 or Bechert Associates or SouthFloridaAttorney.com. We'll be right back after the break, and thanks for listening.
Attention, the 4th annual 12-Step Music Fest is coming November 3rd through the 6th in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. 4 days of music and fun with 12 musical acts along with the Rockers in Recovery Supergroup featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Liberty DeVito, formerly of Billy Joel, Woody Geisman of the Del Fuegos, Kason Sultan of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Christine Ullman of the Saturday Night Live Band, and 4 more to be announced by September. Find out more about this sober Woodstock in Sugarloaf Key by joining rockersinrecovery.com or by calling 877-799-8773.
My name is Charles Bechert. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident due to the negligence of another, care enough to hire Bechert Associates to protect your rights. We are an AV-rated law firm and have 45 years of combined experience. We are all former prosecutors and have all worked for the insurance companies, so we know what they're up to. They have their attorneys, and so should you. When involved in an accident, remember, you may be entitled to $10,000 in medical or lost wages under your PIP policy. In addition, you may receive payments for your pain, suffering, or for the suffering of a loved one. Contact us at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at SouthFloridaAttorney.com.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Silence calms the mind and rejuvenates the body. God Pillow has been inspiring daily devotions for over 11 years. God Pillows are custom made with love and intention. We encourage you to become part of our community. Come visit God Pillow on the World Wide Web at godpillow.com. Free concert, Rockers in Recovery Memorial Day Weekend Concert, May 28th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m., featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist of the NYC Hit Squad and formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, along with Kason Sultan, bassist of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Mick Jagger and Celine Dion, along with 3 other great bands, Johnny B and the Road Dogs, Keep Coming Back Band, and Rhetoric. Come out and join us at the First Step Sober House Memorial Day Free Concert at 450 Southwest 2nd Street, Pompano Beach. To find out more, go to rockersinrecovery.com or call 877-799-8773.
You are listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. Now back to today's show.
Hey, welcome back. We've been talking about some of the ugly sides of life after divorce, and it's amazing how you think that now you've signed on the dotted line, you've got the judge to finalize your divorce, you're free, and you're going to go on your separate ways. But in reality, if you have children, that's not the case. You are going to be tied together for practical purposes for the rest of your life. There's going to be birthdays, there's going to be graduations, there are going to be special events, there are going to be parent-teacher conferences. And if you are good parents, you will co-parent and you will participate in those things as a unified front for the benefit of your children. One of the things that saddens me the most is when I see the parties trying to do this separately and interjecting their own agendas in each of these events. They go to the teacher and they go to the doctor and they go to whomever, and it's all about their problems and their agenda instead of really why you're there, which is to talk about your children. So it's important that we don't lose sight of the big picture here, which is your kids. Divorce is bad enough, but when you have children, it's traumatic. And you see how devastated people become because it is going to significantly erode the amount of time you're going to be able to spend with your children. And life is so short that if you have teenage kids, for instance, they don't want to spend time with you anyway. But if you only have them part-time, they have their schedule now. They have their own life now. And then you have to split what's left between you and your spouse. So it's very difficult. But if you work at it as a team rather than continually fighting, it will, I promise you, make your relationship with your children much stronger and much healthier because, no child wants to go to graduation with mom and dad sitting at opposite sides of the auditorium wondering, which one do I go up and hug first, or which one is going to give me a dirty look because I spoke to mom or I spoke to dad. It's just not appropriate. You want them to feel comfortable. This isn't supposed to traumatize them any more than has already happened. But the family dynamics of today's society is more often than not a single-parent home. The days of Ozzie and Harriet have long since gone by the wayside, and the dual-parent homes are in the minority. More often than not, children are raised by individual parents in two different homes, some with stepmothers, some with stepfathers, some with boyfriends of the parents, some with girlfriends of the parents involved in that mix. And that whole dynamic becomes very, very, very delicate when it relates to, taking care of your children. But you have, options available to you, and you need to take advantage of them, and you need to take the high road and really work toward accomplishing what's in the best interest of your children, which is to get along and work through these issues and not bicker in front of them as you probably did when you were going through the divorce. So, it's important that you kind of reflect on that before you open your mouth. And that goes for both sides. You have to look at it from that perspective. We were talking about, options that are available to parents for those who have fallen on hard times or have seen an increase in pay for the other spouse who's obligated to pay child support, and how you have options to modify your existing child support ruling. And you can do so by filing a petition for modification. Oftentimes it's in your best interest to do so with a lawyer, despite what people tell you. It will save you money and time in the long run. You cannot withhold visitation for a non-payment of child support. And it's definitely despicable if you engage in a practice of alienation with your children. It's one of those things that is most reprehensible, and I think the courts would look at that as a substantial change in circumstances and may significantly erode your own time sharing with your child, and or may only allow you to have time sharing under a supervised circumstances. So you have to be very careful about what you do and how you act in that particular regard. The next thing I want to talk about is alimony. In the state of Florida, there's a misnomer that you are going to be kept in the lifestyle from which you become accustomed. Well, times have changed. That's no longer the case. That's no longer what the case law says, and that's no longer what the courts are doing. Alimony is a mechanism by which to take the family income and to equalize what you have to live on after the marriage. In a short-term marriage, which is 1 to 3 years, typically you're not going to get anything from an alimony perspective. There are circumstances in which you might get something for a couple of months, but typically that's not something that's going to happen for you. When you get into what they call mid-range or mid-length marriages, from 3 to 11 or 12 years, you're going to get some temporary support. You're going to get some bridge the gap alimony and some temporary support, which will not be forever, and will be for a defined period of time, and will be for an amount that is calculated based upon the incomes of the party, the assets that are available, and the financial picture as a whole. But again, that's not forever, and it's something. Bridge the gap is to get you back on your feet. Temporary is based upon probably a little bit longer marriage. But again, neither one of those lasts forever, and those are defined amounts. And then you have the long-term marriage, which typically the cutoff is somewhere around 14 years. If you've been married for over 14 years, you're entitled to permanent alimony. But permanent alimony doesn't mean that you're entitled to to have your spouse pay for you to sit around and do nothing. If you are a well-able-bodied individual and you have skills, you are going to be required to get a job. You're going to be required to live unless you're on disability. One of the most disturbing things is when I have a female client, and she's been the breadwinner for the last 10 years, and hubby has been sitting on his duff and or is disabled or has some other issues and doesn't make any money, and she has to pay him alimony. It's very, very, very disheartening to those folks, because never in a million years would they think, as the woman, would they have to pay alimony, but the law doesn't discriminate male against female. So you have to be very careful, and you have to make sure that when your attorney is looking at this case, he's either protecting you or seeking the right avenue. Because if you're, and I represent a lot of guys, and I go after the women for the alimony and vice versa, but you have to look at it from that perspective. It's not an ego thing, and it's not a sexist thing. It's just what you're obligated to under the law. And in Florida, we make sure that the parties are going to have some ability to live based upon the amount of income that's available. And it's an equalizing equation. It's a mathematical equation that the courts look at in order to determine it. But oftentimes we simply mediate an amount that the parties can live with based upon what's going on. But one of the tricks to alimony is there is non-modifiable and modifiable. So if you put in the marital settlement agreement, or the court determines that it is non-modifiable, despite your circumstances, it becomes almost impossible for you to modify the alimony from which you've now become obligated. There are circumstances, but it's very, very, very difficult, if at all possible, if it's a non-modifiable clause in the alimony amount. If you are in a situation where you have a marital settlement agreement or a court order that doesn't say it's non-modifiable, then it is, by virtue of the way it's worded, modifiable. It can be modified, and that means that if you lose your job, or in some circumstances, if you get a substantial increase, they may seek a modification of that alimony. There are hurdles that have to be overcome in order to qualify, again, for these circumstances, but more often you see it in the context of the party that's ordered to pay alimony lost their job or lost something, had a stroke, and now they cannot qualify for or pay from which they were previously obligated. So it's one of those things that it's important that you look at. I have clients that have had successful businesses, and the business goes under, and now they can't pay it. So it's important that there's a mechanism by law in order to do that. So I think it's important that you know that you have options out there if you're having one of those difficulties or you have questions about that. You come in, you bring me your paperwork, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about what your options are and what's available to you. Again, contact me at southfloridaattorney.com or 954-941-8363. We'll see you after the break.
Free concert, Rockers in Recovery Memorial Day Weekend Concert, May 28th, 1:30 to 6:30 p.m., featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist of the NYC Hit Squad and formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, along with Kason Sultan, bassist of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Mick Jagger and Celine Dion, along with 3 other great bands, Johnny B and the Road Dogs, Keith Coming Back Band, and Rhetoric. Come out and join us at the First Step Sober House Memorial Day Free Concert at 450 Southwest 2nd Street, Pompano Beach. To find out more, go to rockersinrecovery.com or call 877-799-8773. Silence calms the mind and rejuvenates the body. God Pillow has been inspiring daily devotions for over 11 years. God Pillows are custom made with love and intention. We encourage you to become part of our community. Come visit God Pillow on the World Wide Web at godpillow.com.
My name is Charles Bechert. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident due to the negligence of another, care enough to hire Bechert Associates to protect your rights. We are an AV-rated law firm and have 45 years of combined experience. We are all former prosecutors and have all worked for the insurance companies, so we know what they're up to. They have their attorneys, and so should you. When involved in an accident, remember, you may be entitled to $10,000 in medical or lost wages under your PIP policy. In addition, you may receive payments for your pain, suffering, or for the suffering of a loved one. Contact us at 954-941-8363 or visit us on the web at southfloridaattorney.com.
The hiring of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertising. Ask for free written information about the firm's qualifications and experience.
Attention! The 4th annual 12-Step Music Fest is coming November 3rd through the 6th in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. 4 days of music and fun with 12 musical acts along with the Rockers in Recovery Supergroup featuring Ricky Byrd, guitarist formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Liberty DeVito, formerly of Billy Joel, Woody Geisman of the Del Fuegos, Kason Sultan of Todd Rundgren and Utopia, Christine Ullman of the Saturday Night Live Band, and 4 more to be announced by September. Find out more about this sober Woodstock in Sugarloaf Key by joining rockersinrecovery.com or by calling 877-799-8773.
You are listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show, brought to you by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. Now, back to today's show.
Hey, welcome back. Trip Bechert here again. Attorney here in South Florida. I'm from Bechert Associates. And again, you can always get a hold of me at southfloridaattorney.com or 954-941-8363. Again, I'd like to remind you all to go out for the up-and-coming Memorial Day weekend over there at the First Step Sober House. I'm one of the sponsors. Look for my banner there. John's put together a great day for you all to enjoy, and I think for the folks in the community, it's one of those events that you really need to take a look and see what a great job he's done. So my hat's off to you, John, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, First Step Sober House, it's for the 28th. And you can get all the details at rockersinrecovery.com. We've been talking all afternoon about divorce and about what's out there for you after divorce. I've been talking about the availability for you to have some remedies for child support issues, for visitation issues, for alimony issues. And one of the things that you have to be careful of after you get a divorce, when you sign on the dotted line, a lot of times you have assets that are out there, a home that's in foreclosure or credit card debt or car loans, and you really need to make sure it's spelled out in your agreement as to who's responsible for what and how. In Florida, if you incur a debt while you're married, you're both on the hook for that debt, so you need to see how that debt is going to be resolved and who's going to be responsible for resolving it when you get divorced. You simply cannot just leave it out there dangling, because then when you get sued by a creditor or from a bank to foreclose on your house, you need to know who's going to be responsible for defending it, paying for the defense, resolving it, paying it off, worrying about your credit, all of those things. Unfortunately, because of the housing market, I find that probably 5 out of 7 of my divorces have folks living in a home that is in foreclosure or about to be foreclosed upon. And the parties simply are letting the house go. Well, oftentimes one of the people is going to live in the house until the bank takes it and the other party has left. And of course, that makes the burden of housing expense much less on the person that's living there, but the other party has to go out and pay for an apartment or a new house. So it's important that you kind of work out those details and give the people credit for the those amounts when divvying up the debts and the responsibilities. Just because you're not on the mortgage, if you bought that house when you guys got married or after you guys got married, you're on the hook for it. Simply because your name isn't on the mortgage doesn't mean you're not going to get sued by the bank when they foreclose on it. And if the bank forecloses on the property and sells it for far less than what they are owed, they can come after you for what they call a deficiency judgment. They can come after you for the difference between what they sold the house for and what you guys owed. So it's really, really important that you try to work out all of these loose ends when you're actually going through the process. And this is one of the things that I do. I've told you before, it doesn't cost anything to come in and talk to me. The reason why I'm confident that I bring folks in is because I give them sound advice, and I don't need to nickel and dime you for a consultation fee. I think it's more appropriate that you build a level of trust and confidence in your lawyer by having the benefit of coming in and talk to him without those expenses. We handle tons of family cases. I do everything, like I said, from their initial divorce to complex family litigation, post-judgment. We do appeals. So we take it from soup to nuts, and we've been doing it a long time. And bring me what you have. If you have a marital settlement agreement, or you get served with papers, or you have something that's going on, bring me everything that you have. And what you don't have, we can either find it on the clerk's computer, or we can access it. But we'll be able to at least give you an idea of what you have in front of you and what your options are and what it's going to cost you to get it resolved. I do a lot of criminal work. I help folks out in the criminal arena all the way from DUIs through life felonies. I don't do tickets, but if we don't do it, we'll find you somebody that will do it for you at a reasonable cost. But we do everything, like I said, from DUIs all the way up to life felonies. I stopped and don't do murder cases. But we help folks that are accused of crimes and help them navigate themselves through the criminal justice system. We also do a lot of personal injury. We take accident cases, whether it be auto, boating, cruise ship, slip and falls, nursing home abuse, malpractice, med malpractice, anything of that nature where you're injured by the wrongdoings or negligence of another, we can help you get some recovery for that, or it doesn't cost you anything. Accident cases, negligence cases are all done on a contingency basis. Unfortunately, criminal and family cases aren't. Those are cash and carry, unfortunately. We take credit cards, we take checks, we take cash, but what I'm saying is those are on an hourly rate versus the accident cases, which are contingent on recovery. And we also represent employees that have been wrongfully paid by their employers, either by way of non-payment of their overtime wages or non-payment of wages altogether. Oftentimes employers either intentionally or non-intentionally misclassify an employee, and they don't pay them their time and a half for those hours worked in excess of 40 hours. And we do that on, it's not a contingency, but it's a prevailing party fee where you don't pay if you don't recover, but the employer is responsible for your fee. So those are the areas that we can help you out in. Those are the areas that we have attorneys trained and the staff that are able to assist you and competently navigate you through those waters. Again, my name is Trip Bechert. Trip is Trip for Triple because I'm the third. Charles Harold Bechert III, Bechert Associates. I've been practicing here for 17 years. 954-941-8363. Or look me up on the web at southfloridaattorney.com. That's southfloridaattorney.com. And we're here to help and give you the benefit of our experience. Again, free consultation anytime you need it. And we'll be happy to sit down with you and take the time to one-on-one with an attorney go through what it is that is troubling you and to help you come up with a solution. What I caution most of my clients against is don't be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand. Most of these things will not go away. They only get worse. So, again, come visit us on the web, southfloridaattorney.com, or we're right in Pompano, right on Atlantic Boulevard, 901 East Atlantic Boulevard, Bechert Associates. And, again, my name is Trip Bechert, and you can always get me at 954-941-8363. And it's been a pleasure standing in here for John today. He, again, is working hard on putting together the Memorial Day event on the 28th, and we look forward to seeing you out there. And visit rockersandrecovery.com, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again. This is Trip Bechert. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holistic Lifestyles Radio Show. This program is sponsored by Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Join us every day right here on AM 1470 WNN. You can also find us on our Twitter podcast, Facebook, and blogtalkradio.com. For more information about the show and our sponsors, be sure to visit our website, holisticlifestylesradio.com. That's holisticlifestylesradio.com. All broadcast rights to this program are the property of Holistic Lifestyles Radio Incorporated. Rebroadcast of any portion of this program without express written consent is prohibited. The opinions expressed on this sponsored program are not necessarily those of this station, staff, management, or sponsors. The preceding program is a Rockers in Recovery radio production. Rights to this program are the sole rights of Rockers in Recovery Radio Incorporated. Rebroadcast of this program in any form without express written consent is prohibited. AM 1470, with even more information you can use. Join pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey for the Invite Health Radio Show at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Tune in for the latest information on nutrition and cutting-edge solutions to your most pressing health problems. It's the Invite Health Radio Show with pharmacist and educator Jerry Hickey at a new time, Monday through Friday mornings at 10 a.m. right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's all-new Health and Wealth Network.
Here's hoping you're healthy and wealthy. South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio Network, AM 1470, WWNN, Pompano Beach.
AM 1470, with even more information you can use. Looking for unique investment opportunities? Join Michael Stern for Stern on the Street, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons at 3, right here on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network.
This is Steve Kane with an important message for diabetic patients. Medicare rules have been changed this year, creating mass confusion, causing you to spend more money out of your pocket than you have to. Don't be fooled by deceptive ads from the chain pharmacies promising low copays and simplified testing. But one thing you must remember, there's no company, no matter how large, that can beat the low cost you'll find at Pro Medical East Medical Supply. The home delivery option alone will save you up to $200. Pro Medical East Medical Supply accepts most national and regional insurance plans in Florida, and including, of course, Medicare and Medicaid. And if you're not insured, they'll get your medical supplies at the absolute lowest cost. Make sure you ask about the no-cost option. Call 1-888-200-2797. That's 1-888-200-2797. Tell them Steve sent you.
Are you lost and perplexed when it comes to your website? You'll want to tune in to the Internet Business Hour, where we answer everyday questions about web design, new web applications, online marketing, social media, and more. We make it simple to understand and give you the latest tips, tricks, and ideas to help you keep up in today's digital marketplace. Don't miss us. Tune in to listen to the Internet Business Hour Saturdays at 2 on WWNN AM 1470 and Sundays at 2 on WSBR AM 740 Radio.
AM 1470 WNN is now the Health and Wealth Network, featuring more of the information you're looking for. Join us for the best health programs every day. Then, in late afternoons and evenings, tune in for more information for your financial success. Only on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's all-new Health and Wealth Network. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
When you download the Kroger app, you have easy access to savings every day. Get the most out of weekly sales and receive personalized coupons to save on your favorite items, all while earning 1 fuel point for every $1 spent. Kroger makes it easy to save while you shop, whether it's in-store or online, so you get the most value out of every trip, every time. Download the Kroger app now to save big on your next purchase. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.